There is one thing my therapist said to me that I have not been able to stop thinking about. Welcome to part 2 of lessons I've learned as a perfectionist in recovery. We've talked about how perfectionism is a coping strategy and not a personality trait. Now we have to figure out why we started using this coping strategy in the first place. Like just about everything we struggle with as adults, perfectionism develops in childhood out of the one core belief that I'm not enough. This belief usually forms if you were only ever shown praise and attention when you achieved something, or if you were met with criticism when you did make mistakes. Interestingly enough, it can also form in you if you are always labeled the responsible one or the gifted one. As a kid, you end up forming an identity around that label and then feeling like you constantly have to prove it. Slipping up doesn't just feel like failure, it feels like losing a part of yourself. In therapy, I realized that this is where my belief of not being enough rooted from. Growing up, I was always the high achiever. I knew if I worked hard, then I could get straight A's. Then on the other hand, there was dance. I loved dancing and went to dance classes 5 times a week. But no matter how hard I worked, I could never get to the level that I wanted to. I'll never forget the time I auditioned for the ensemble of the school musical, and I was the only one of my dance friends who didn't make the cut. I remember the humiliation I felt when I'd have to spend lunchtime alone because all of my friends were at musical practice. That failure cut me so deep that I ended up quitting dance completely. And this is when the voice showed up in my head. The one that told me that when I was succeeding, then I was worthy, I was loved, I was safe. But the second I wasn't achieving, that voice flipped. It turned into a brutal voice that told me if I failed, I was no longer worthy. 17 years later, and I realized that that 14-year-old version of myself was still living in my subconscious. What my therapist helped me see is that critical voice is not the enemy. It formed to protect me, to stop me from feeling pain when I fell short. And this is the first step to overcoming perfectionism. Identifying where this voice, the one that tells you you have to be perfect in order to be loved, actually came from. And instead of fighting it, thank it. It was trying to protect you. Then let it know it's done its job and you don't need it anymore. I'll see you in part 3 for the next step out of the perfectionist trap.